Imagine the scene. It's the 1980s, big hair, bold fashion, and industrial change. In the heart of Yorkshire, Hartlepool, a man named Maurice Ward is working, not in a high-tech laboratory, but in his ladies' hairdressing salon. He was an inventor, a tinkerer, a classic British eccentric. While his days were filled with the scents of hairspray and the chatter of customers, his mind was elsewhere. He was preoccupied with a disaster he'd seen on the news. The 1985 Manchester airport fire. 55 people tragically lost their lives, many from inhaling toxic smoke. That event lit a fire in Maurice's imagination, a drive for protection. Maurice wasn't a trained scientist. He was a practical man with boundless curiosity. He'd run a plastics company before becoming a hairdresser, so he knew a thing or two about materials. He believed he could create something that would stop fire in its tracks, something that could have saved those people. It sounds like the plot of a film, doesn't it? The unassuming local hero working away in a shed, or in this case his kitchen, on a discovery that could change the world. It's a wonderfully romantic idea. But for Maurice Ward it was very serious, a real ambition. He began experimenting, not with expensive lab equipment, but with household ingredients. Think of it as an extreme bake-off. He mixed and mashed, he heated and cooled, using bits and bobs he could find in any local shop. His family later said the kitchen was his laboratory, a place of strange concoctions and even stranger smells. They described him as a man possessed by an idea, relentlessly pursuing his goal with a determination that bordered on obsession. He was trying to solve a problem that had stumped the world's greatest corporate and military research departments, and he was doing it all on his own terms, right there in the north of England. This wasn't just a hobby, it was a calling. Maurice poured his savings and his soul into the project. He tested over 20 different formulations a day, a tireless process of trial and error. He was looking for that perfect recipe, the one that would not just resist heat, but would laugh in the face of it. He was a maverick, operating far outside the scientific establishment. This is what makes his story so compelling. It's a tale of ingenuity springing from the most unlikely of places. A testament to the idea that a revolutionary breakthrough doesn't always need a state-of-the-art facility, but sometimes just a brilliant, determined mind. So, what exactly was this miracle substance that Maurice Ward created? He called it Starlite. The name itself sounds futuristic. The material was very real. In simple terms, Starlite was a plastic, but not like any other plastic. When heated, it didn't melt into a puddle of toxic goo. Instead, it did something extraordinary. It began to char and swell, expanding into a lightweight, carbon-based foam. That foam formed an incredibly effective insulator, a protective barrier that could withstand unbelievable temperatures, a shield against fire. When flame hit Starlite, it would intumesce, swell up, forming a black, fluffy char. The char was mostly carbon, filled with tiny pockets of gas. That structure dissipated heat so well the material underneath stayed cool. Imagine a knight's armor that grows thicker at the point of impact. That's what Starlite did with heat. It was also lightweight, ideal for aerospace. It could be painted or molded onto almost any surface. Crucially, when it reacted to heat, it didn't release toxic fumes. Maurice developed it after the Manchester disaster. It could buy people precious, breathable air during evacuation. Maurice guarded the composition but hinted at ingredients, up to 21 organic polymers, copolymers, a sprinkle of ceramics. He said it was ordinary stuff you could buy off the shelf. That only added to the mystique. How could something so powerful come from humble beginnings? It defied modern materials logic. Maurice Ward had seemingly cooked up a world-changing invention hiding in plain sight. The moment Starlite truly stepped into the limelight was on a BBC television programme in 1990 called Tomorrow's World. This was the show that brought the future into British living rooms every week. And what Maurice Ward demonstrated was pure television gold. The setup was brilliantly simple, almost like a magic trick. He took an ordinary fresh hen's egg, carefully coated it in a thin layer of his white, putty-like Starlite, and handed it to the presenter, Peter McCann. Then they brought out the instrument of torture, an oxyacetylene blowtorch. It's a tool that can cut through steel, reaching temperatures of over 2,500 degrees Celsius. The flame was turned on the egg. You'd expect it to explode in an instant, or at the very least be cooked solid in seconds. The intense, roaring blue flame engulfed one side of the white egg. For minutes the blowtorch blasted away. The starlight coating blackened and charred, swelling slightly, but it did not burn through. The television audience watched with disbelief and suspense. Could this possibly be real? Was it a trick? The presenter and studio crew looked on, captivated. After 5 long minutes, the torch was switched off. Maurice, calm as you like, picked up the egg. He wiped away black char, revealing undamaged starlight. Then he cracked the egg open, and inside it was completely raw. Runny yolk, clear white. The heat that can melt metal had been held at bay by a thin layer of his homemade material. The delicate proteins inside the egg remained completely untouched. This simple, visual, undeniable proof of Starlight's power was utterly astonishing. This single television appearance catapulted Maurice Ward and his invention from a Yorkshire kitchen into national and international consciousness. The uncookable egg became the stuff of legend. After the Tomorrow's World broadcast, the world came knocking, and I mean the whole world. The demonstration had been so stunningly effective that it caught the attention of some of the most powerful organizations on the planet. Suddenly, the phone in Maurice Ward's home in Hartlepool was ringing off the hook. These weren't just curious members of the public, they were serious players from the worlds of science, defense, aerospace. They all wanted to know more about the hairdresser's miracle plastic, and more importantly, they wanted to get their hands on it. NASA was one of the first and most prominent organizations to show interest. You can see why. The space agency is always looking for lightweight, super-insulating materials to protect spacecraft and astronauts from the extreme temperatures of re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. Starlite seemed almost too good to be true, a potential game-changer for space shuttle heat shields and beyond. They conducted their own tests and were, by all accounts, blown away. One scientist from a US testing facility was quoted as saying the material was magnificent and that they had never seen anything like it. It wasn't just NASA. Britain's own Ministry of Defence was keenly interested. The atomic weapons establishment at Foulness Island, a place that knows a thing or two about extreme forces, subjected Starlite to simulated nuclear blasts. Reports suggest that it performed incredibly well, withstanding heat pulses far greater than anything it had faced before. Major corporations, from aerospace giants like Boeing to chemical companies, all began negotiations with Maurice. They saw the potential for Starlite to revolutionize everything from aeroplane cabins, military vehicles, fireproof construction materials, consumer goods. The interest was intense and global. Everyone could see the applications. Imagine coating the structural steel in skyscrapers with Starlite, preventing them from buckling in a fire, or lining the interiors of cars and trains to give passengers vital extra minutes to escape in an accident. The possibilities were endless, and the financial value of such a material was astronomical. Maurice Ward, the man who used to mix perms and colorants, was now sitting on a formula that was potentially worth billions. He held the key to a safer world, and everyone wanted a copy. Faced with this incredible wave of interest, you might think Maurice Ward would have been eager to sign a deal and reap the rewards of his genius. But he did the exact opposite. Maurice was intensely, almost pathologically, secretive. He trusted no one. He was terrified that if he revealed the formula for Starlite, a big corporation would steal it, leaving him with nothing. He believed, perhaps rightly, that once the secret was out, he would lose all control over his life's work. His incredible invention had become both a blessing and a terrible burden. This secrecy became the defining feature of the Starlite story. He refused to send out samples of the material unless he could be present for the testing. He would allow organizations to test it, but he would never let them keep it. He was adamant that he must retain 51% ownership and control in any commercial deal, a condition that many multinational corporations found difficult to swallow. He played a cat-and-mouse game with some of the most powerful people in the world, always keeping his cards held very close to his chest. He was convinced they were all trying to cheat him. There were other reasons for his caution too. He was a family man and he wanted to ensure that his descendants would benefit from his invention. The formula, he said, was known only to him and a few trusted members of his immediate family. He saw it as their inheritance, a legacy to be protected at all costs. This deep-seated desire to protect his family's future shaped every decision he made. He wasn't just negotiating for himself, he was negotiating for generations of wards to come, and that made the stakes incredibly high for him personally. This deep distrust ultimately became Starlite's undoing. Negotiations with NASA, negotiations with Boeing, negotiations with various European companies dragged on for years, always stalling at the final hurdle. Morris would pull out of deals at the last minute, convinced he was about to be double-crossed. While his caution is understandable for a lone inventor up against corporate giants, it created a stalemate. The world wanted Starlite, but its creator was the one person standing in the way of it being released. The secret that gave Starlite its power was the very thing that kept it locked away. In the end, the stalemate was never broken. Morris Ward passed away in May 2011. He appears to have taken the complete verified formula for Starlite with him to the grave. Despite his intentions to pass it on, no company or government has come forward. The deals were never signed. The contracts were never finalized. The revolutionary material that could withstand a nuclear blast and keep an egg raw under a blowtorch simply vanished from the public eye. Starlite remains one of modern science's greatest what-ifs. What might have been? It's a question that haunts this story. Think of the lives that could have been saved in fires, domestic tragedies, major industrial disasters. The Grenfell Tower fire in 2017 is a heartbreaking modern example where a fireproof cladding could have changed everything. Imagine spacecraft that are safer and cheaper to launch, or military personnel better protected in conflict zones. Starlite had the potential to be a truly transformative technology, a genuine force for good in the world. Its failure to launch is a profound loss, not just for materials science, but for society as a whole. The story of Morris Ward and Starlite continues to fascinate us because it touches on so many powerful themes. It's a classic David and Goliath tale of the lone inventor against the corporate world. It's a mystery, a puzzle with a missing piece, the secret recipe. And it's a cautionary tale about the clash between innovation and commerce, and the paranoia that can sometimes stifle genius. We are captivated by the idea of lost knowledge, of secrets that the past knew but we have forgotten, or in this case, that one man knew and refused to share. Ultimately, Starlite's legacy is one of brilliant, tantalizing, and frustrating potential. It serves as a powerful reminder that inventing something is only half the battle. Bringing it successfully to the world is the other, often harder half. The image of that uncookable egg remains, a perfect symbol of what was achieved and what was lost. It's a ghost of a safer future that never came to be, cooked up in a Yorkshire kitchen and now lost to the mists of time, leaving us all to wonder what might have happened if the secret had ever been let out of its shell.